President Biden signs more executive orders than any president in modern history. California begins to reopen, and Reddit investors pull off biggest stock market prank maybe ever. I'm Levi Erickson, and this is Bias Free News. Welcome back to another episode of Bias Free News, where we watch the news so you don't have to. So let's get right into the news. Biden has signed 42 executive orders in his presidency thus far, making him have signed more executive orders than any president in modern history. He's faced criticism from those on the right and even some on the left, including a New York Times article that was published regarding his executive order usage, saying that it's a little too pushy and it bypasses Congress, and they are arguing that makes it basically a useless branch of the government, and they're urging him to use Congress to legislate more of his plans rather than just bypassing them with executive orders. California has begun to reopen their state and reduce many of the restrictions they've imposed to help with COVID. Fauci actually was backing a CDC report recently regarding COVID as reopening the schools. The CDC argument was basically that research shows that there's actually not enough evidence to suggest that schools should be closed right now, suggesting that the transmission among children is relatively low and the risk for children is extremely low, and that teachers actually are more likely to get it from other adults than from their own students in the classroom. So Fauci backed that CDC report. We'll see if the White House takes up on that and presses for more reopening of schools nationwide. The BLM, Black Lives Matter movement, is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, which has faced a lot of backlash, especially from the right. We'll see if they are actually able to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And then the biggest news story of the last week, and probably the last several years, is this GameStop news that has been happening in the stock market recently. So if you're unaware, essentially what happened is a bunch of Reddit investors got together and decided that they were going to what's called short squeezing the big hedge fund managers from being able to sell out on GameStop. Essentially what happens is these hedge fund bankers or hedge fund managers were going in, they were borrowing GameStop and other companies' stocks. So for example, they would go out and say, hey, let me borrow your stock that's worth $10 and I'll give it back to you plus $1. So they would take that stock and they would go into the market, and then they would hopefully wait for the stock to dip. Because if the stock goes from $10 to $5, what they can then do is that it can go and buy the stock for $5 and give them back the $5 stock and plus their $1 that they owed in interest for that stock borrowing, and then they can pocket the rest of the $4. So basically what happened is the Reddit investors were like, we're going to basically prank them and make the GameStop and other companies' stock price go so high that they were unable to actually purchase the stock for a lower price and actually have to pay more for the same stock. So instead of paying $5 for the stock, they had to pay $20 for the stock, and it made them lose a fortune. And essentially, this is just all a big prank. But what happened during this short squeeze was that Robinhood, one of the biggest investment brokerages for people like you and me who just aren't really involved in the big investment schemes of it all, they actually restricted people from being able to buy those specific stocks, forcing the market to crash, which may face legal challenges later on for Robinhood, but we will see where that goes, and we will keep you posted as that story unfolds. Until next week, I'm Levi Erickson, and this is Bias Free News. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, please check out our other Leviticus Studios productions, including the Debunk series, Bias Free News, and Why Christ. The Levi Erickson Show is produced by Wyatt Winfield and Peyton Hovilla. Music by River Erickson and Andrew Montgomery.